Right, so quick chat on these Toro Timemaster blades. These are your standard Toro atomic blades. This is the high lift version. You can get ones with slightly lower lift. And these are the Copperhead blades. I think made by Rotary, I think it is. Copperhead gator blades. I've been using these for most of this year. And I'm going to share my thoughts on what they're like compared to the standard Toro blades. So firstly, let's talk price point. Depending on where you get them from, the price is pretty much the same online, I'd say. I get all my stuff online. I don't go to dealers or anything like that. It's just easier for me to just shop online. So yeah, price point, they're roughly around the same, ranging from £40, Great British pounds, to £60 maybe, depending on where you shop. But generally, you can get them roughly for the same sort of price. These can possibly get a little bit cheaper, but yeah, so that's the price point. It's pretty even on price. Weight's fairly similar, to be honest. I haven't actually weighed them on the scales, but just holding them, there's not a lot to them. These are a bit chunkier and thicker, so they're probably going to weigh a little bit more, but there's not a lot in it. Durability. Let's talk durability. I've not been impressed with these. The durability of these, they don't hold an edge very well. If you keep them relatively sharp, they don't last that long. If you hit a couple of stones or bits of wood chip or whatever, these slightly better, hold an edge a lot longer than the standard Toro blades, so that's one up for those. So the next thing would be obviously cut quality. I never judge blades cut quality straight out of the box, because depending on the quality control in the factories and how well they sharpen them, I never judge it out of the box. So I always give them, if they need a sharpen beforehand, I'll give them a sharpen. If they don't, then I'll run it for a week or so and then give it a sharpen afterwards. But I will never judge the cut quality on brand new blades. I always judge it once I've sharpened them. That's the best way in my opinion, because like I say, the factories, the tolerances that they, they're all different. So I mean, you can get one that's nice and sharp and another one that isn't so sharp, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I always judge it after I've sharpened them. I've got to give it to the Toro blades on cut quality. There's a lot less stragglers, depending on whether you're side discharge, mulching or bagging. I find these Toro blades actually give a really good cut, and so that's one thing why I like these over these. These are still good, don't get me wrong, but the cut quality on these is better than these, in my opinion anyway, and just from what I've found. Obviously the actual blade design itself, this is a formed blade, as it were. It's straight but it's formed, which means obviously it's got these step down bits, as it were. This one is more of a, it kind of slopes down at the end, if you see. Whether that makes cut quality better, I do not know, but that is just the blade design. One thing I do like about these is the fact that they are step down, because if anyone's got a Timemaster and you try cut low with it, you know how much of a pain it is, because obviously when you try and go low, the deck's lower anyway, and if your ground's not completely flat, it's a pain in the ass. So the one good thing about these is they will change your height of cut settings. So obviously if you have that mounted, your point of entry on the grass, as it were, is going to be lower with these. So for low cut people using the Toro Timemaster, these are good, because they mean you can actually cut lower. So you don't necessarily have to raise your deck all the way to the bottom. You can sort of go to level 2 and it will still be relatively lower. It's not a lot in it, but it's these cut lower, which is one plus for these blades. Right, so that's overall cut quality. Now I suppose it has to be down to the cut quality in the wet, the dry, bagging, mulching, etc, etc. This is what I found. Mulching in the dry, pretty much even. There's not a lot in it, to be honest with you. I've actually found these ones, they leave more of a build up under the deck. You'll know what I mean if you've got a Timemaster. There'll be a little line just around the lip of the deck. I mean, I keep my deck clean anyway. I clean my deck out after every lawn or whatever, so my deck is always clean. But in the dry, it leaves a little tiny little, kind of like a 1 centimeter ring of debris around the sort of the lower side of the deck, if you know what I mean. Whereas the Toro ones aren't too bad with that, actually, from what I found. Mulching in the wet. These are, they're not bad. They clump up the deck probably more than these. I say they're both not that good in the wet. Not much is, to be honest with you. The Toro's pretty bad in the wet anyway, for sort of when you're mulching and you're making a mess. But they're not bad. I say it all depends on how much grass you're cutting off as well. If you're cutting off a little bit of grass, you know, sticking to that third rule or maybe half, it's when you start getting low and you start cutting into the crowns of the grass plant, that's when it causes issues with either blades. You'll start getting a lot of build up and then strain on the motor and cut quality suffers, etc, etc. So as long as you're cutting, you know, just the leaf blade of the grass, generally they're not too bad, but again, not great in the wet. Bagging wise now, these bag great, to be fair. They bag great in the dry. In the wet, pretty good in the wet, not too bad. Again, depends how much you're cutting off, how wet it is. They're not too bad though, these ones. Bagging in the dry, yeah, not bad, pretty good. Bagging in the wet, yeah, not bad, probably on par. I'd probably slightly edge it to the Toro blades for the bagging. Side discharge, again, both pretty good. This is a bit more aggressive with the side discharge. It comes out a bit more aggressively. Obviously it's got slightly larger fins. They're angled the other way. But yeah, they both side discharge relatively well. What I've noticed with these, the side discharge, rather than coming out sideways, so say your deck's here, rather than coming straight out sideways, it comes more back towards your feet, as it were, which is not a problem. That's just obviously the design of it. So yeah, overall thoughts, both good set of blades. I'm probably more inclined to stick with these than these. These are good, don't get me wrong. They're, like I say, price wise similar. These are a bit more durable, so they'll last a bit longer. They're pretty similar, but I think what wins it for me is the cut quality. These Toro blades leave a really good finish. A lot less stragglers, and yeah, it's whereas this one you occasionally have to do sort of double cuts maybe sometimes in the poorer conditions. But yeah, that's my thoughts on these two anyway, the differences. I've probably forgotten to mention something else, but if you have any questions, let me know and I'll try and get back to you. But that's just my overall impression. I say both good blades. Nice to have a set of these as well, just to have a bit of a difference. So yeah, cheers.